spiritual warfare is going on inside every single believer every single day of the year, because you have the flesh, which is the heart, that wants to do everything against God and all the things that may not necessarily, quote unquote, seem to be wrong on the surface. But at the end of the day, it's all about gratifying you. And then you have the spirit that is trying to pull you in the direction you should go, pull you in the direction of right, pull you in the direction that leads you to where you would live a life pleasing to God and not just yourself and worry about pleasing yourself. Paul talked about this a whole bunch. This is exactly why we should never follow our heart. How to lead your heart. Let's get it.
Two types of righteousness, call it 2KR. 2KR, one is horizontal, one is...
Thanks for watching That Christian Fam. If growing in the faith is important to you, hit that subscribe button, because over here we like to encourage, empower, and give you everyday practical Christian advice on real life situations. We drop videos whenever we drop videos, so hit that notification bell, because for the first hour, we respond to comments immediately. All right, y'all, let's get into it. How to lead your heart. First and foremost, let's talk about exactly what is the heart, because a lot of people get it twisted. A lot of people think this is the heart. And I know y'all think I'm crazy when I just did that, but yes, this is the heart in a man. But when the Bible speaks of the heart, it is talking about the heart of a man, which is your mind, okay? And so think about it. This just pumps blood. Here's where all of your thoughts and actions take place before they actually take place. If this thing that pumps blood throughout your body regulated your thoughts and actions, then when you have a heart transplant and you actually take on someone else's heart, why don't your thoughts change? Your thoughts stay the same. This thing right here in your cranium regulates your thoughts and your actions. Now, all of us have heard folks say, well, you know, just go ahead and follow your heart. Yeah, man, do what feels right and all that stuff. Sounds like something straight up out of a movie. And that's exactly where you see it, movies, because that stuff really doesn't play out well in real life. So I want to talk to you today about ways to lead your heart and the ramifications of following your heart. Number one, if you follow your heart, it oftentimes leads to bad decision making. When you want to make a great decision, what do people tell you, or what do you tell yourself? Take the emotion out of it, right? Because the emotion will have you gassed up and you'll end up making a bad decision. You'll end up making a terrible situation even worse simply by your bad decision making, because you were gassed up on emotion. So take the emotion out of it and walk your actions out all the way to your desired outcome. I'm gonna touch a little bit more on that later. But here's another thing. Keep what's in your heart in your heart. How many times have you been like, bruh, if I say what I want to say? And that's just the thing. Everything in your heart don't need to be shared. It could be damaging, and 9 times out of 10, it does more harm than good. I'm not saying you can't vent to a close friend, mentor, counselor, or psychologist, but learning to tame that tongue helps to lead your heart in the way it should go. If you agree with any of this, or this is helping you in any way, shape, or form at all, hit that subscribe button and like this video. Now, this is gonna sound very unromantic, but don't follow your heart when it comes to relationships, because you could see somebody that's very appealing to your eye and you make a bad decision simply because your flesh was attracted to that person. When I say that, I think about Samson and Delilah in the Old Testament. Now, Samson was a judge, and no matter how many times his parents told him to stay away from strange women, stay away from foreign women and things like that, and the reason why they wanted him to do that is because they did not share the same values with them as children of Israel. But what did he do? He found someone who he thought was attractive, and he continued to pursue that girl, and what did it do? He ended up catching the L by dying simply because he followed his heart and not the ways of God. What we have to understand about the heart is that it is postured to be against the ways of God by default.
And don't just follow your heart, man, because your heart can be deceived. But you gotta lead your heart.
Don't believe me? Flip over to Psalm 51. Now, what David is doing in this book is he's asking God for forgiveness. He's repenting to God. He's saying, listen, forgive me for my transgressions and blot out my sins and things like that. And in verse 5 specifically, he says, behold, I was shapen in iniquity, and in sin did my mother conceive me. There are several other Bible verses that speak to the depravity of man, but because of the phraseology, I wanted to highlight this verse. Now, sin is just missing the mark. It's doing something by omission or commission against the will and purpose of God. Iniquity is a step further because it's premeditated sin. Like you plan to do something wrong. You plan to do something shady or something you ain't got no business doing. Now think about the judicial system when it comes to killing somebody. There's a difference between manslaughter and premeditated murder because one is planned out and thus the sentencing is far greater. Even though the outcome's the same, somebody's dead. So being that we're born in sin and shaped in iniquity, we come out the womb with a heart that is inclined to do wrong. When you think about a kid, nobody has to teach that kid how to do wrong, how to hide their hands when they touch something they shouldn't, how to lie, how to flinch when they hear the voice of authority when they're doing something they shouldn't be. Here's the last thing I want to share about leading your heart. You can find it in 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 5. I ain't no journalist, but y'all know what's up. It says, we destroy arguments and every lofty opinion raised against the knowledge of God and take every thought captive to obey Christ. See, a lot of times we try to take that verse and we try to apply it to the external, when in fact it's actually an internal struggle of the heart that it's talking about. Just because something enters your mind, it doesn't mean you have to act on it, and it doesn't guarantee that that thought came from God. We should put our thoughts on trial by weighing them against the scriptures and talking to God about them. These are just some of the reasons why we should never follow our heart, but we should pull and lead our heart in the way it should go by renewing our minds daily.
Philip Malain, Luther's Young Boy, Book of Concord, AP, Article 4, explains fully what it means to be justified and where to go to find proof that you trusted God.